Coronavirus, COVID-19 spreading rapidly in America, by Learn with News, Level 3. The coronavirus pandemic has been the main focus for governments around the world since early 2020. Different countries have utilized various tactics for fighting the virus, and as such, there have been varying levels of success. In Asia, most countries acted quickly and with strong actions. Due to these strong early actions, Asia has been one of the least affected areas of the world, despite the fact that the virus originated there. Europe, which was slow to react to the virus, was much more severely hit by COVID-19. The lack of early actions and the reluctance for most European countries to make tough decisions meant that most of Europe essentially closed for months. People couldn't leave their homes except to buy essential items. All shops, restaurants, and other public areas were closed, and life changed completely for most people. In the US, the reaction to the virus has varied. Early on, President Trump refused to take action against the pandemic, saying in February about the coronavirus cases in the US, "You have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero." The US now has 2.7 million cases as of July 3rd. For the past week, the US has had more than 40,000 cases almost every day. The US passed 50,000 cases in one day on July 1st, and it is expected that the cases could rise to 100,000 per day. The virus is spreading rapidly around the country as people argue over whether or not to wear masks, whether or not to close businesses, and in some cases, over whether or not the virus is even real. The discord in the US is largely political. To some people, wearing a mask is now a political action. Some people see wearing a mask as a sign that you dislike President Trump, and not wearing a mask as a sign that you like or follow Trump's example. Trump has so far refused to wear a mask in public, which has fueled his followers into doing the same thing. Although the virus is badly affecting all areas of the US, states which typically vote for Trump's political party, the Republicans, are starting to be the worst hit areas. The plight in the US has had repercussions around the world. The European Union announced that they would begin allowing some travelers from other countries into the EU again, starting from July 1st. This was after banning almost all travel into and within the EU early on in the pandemic. The EU will now allow travelers from 14 countries to enter the EU. Countries such as Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and others will all be able to travel to the EU, and EU citizens will be allowed to travel to the same countries. Travelers from the US are still prohibited from entering the EU, a significant sign of how bad the situation is in the US, as the EU and US normally work very closely together. As the virus spirals out of control in the US, attention is turning to the presidential election in November 2020. The disapproval rating of President Trump has hit new highs due to his response to the COVID-19 pandemic. People are angry at the fact other countries are starting to go back to normal with very few new cases, while the US is experiencing record-breaking numbers for new cases almost every day. There is some speculation that Trump could suffer the worst election defeat in decades.